about this for a Monday, John, 3 weeks into the NFL season? What if I told you after the draft and before training camp started that in late September, Vikings fans would be horrified at the idea that Sam Darnold might have a knee injury?
Just kind of goes to show, man, you never know in this league what things can turn into, right? I thought, that was a startling development at the game on Sunday. Was Darnold going down and basically a collective hush falling over the crowd as if, oh no, season's over because of Sam Darnold. But that's the way he's played. He's played so well, and everyone was on pins and needles waiting for that update on him today. So just a wild turn of events that Sam Darnold is the key to the Vikings' hopes here, but that's what he is.
There's an old saying, I'm going to paraphrase, that victory has a thousand fathers, defeat only one. It feels like, and I'm not even sure that applies directly to the situation, but what I want to get into on this show is that there are a couple of really big reasons this Vikings team is 3-0 and playing better than anybody in the NFL. There are a lot of little reasons as well. Let's get into all of them here on the Viking Update Show. He's John Krawczynski from The Athletic. I'm Jim Souhan from Star Tribune. This is TalkNorth.com. If you like this show or any show at TalkNorth.com, please subscribe to the show at your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's the easiest way to listen. We love doing these shows. We love what's going on with our network right now. You can also check out Jeff Diamond's Vikings and NFL Insider with the former Vikings general manager. This show is coming to you. We are coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios, and we are presented by the Minnesota Lottery Vikings Scratch Game Edition. Thanks to our many other sponsors, including Crazy Fresh, Twill, Natrium, True Vision Institute, and TSR Injury Law. And once again, thanks for listening. We do appreciate it. So we waited to record today until we had news on Sam Darnold. The news is that the knee is bruised, that there's no structural damage. He is not expected to miss any time. So it sounds like it will be Sam Darnold playing on Sunday in Green Bay, maybe against Jordan Love, maybe against Malik Willis, who's playing brilliantly. And I think what you see in this matchup with Matt LaFleur able to win with Malik Willis, he got for a 7th-round draft pick, with Kevin O'Connell able to win with Sam Darnold, who had failed with 2 other teams and not played much with the third. We're seeing some graduate level coaching here. And of course, we're going to stick with the Vikings here between O'Connell, his offensive staff, Brian Flores, and the fact that Kwesi went out and got them a lot of players in free agency that have fit in perfectly. We're seeing kind of a dream scenario for how you manage a football franchise.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing to see. You look around the league right now, and I think that there are a lot of fan bases that are tearing their hair out over some of the coaching decisions that are being made. Philadelphia, Atlanta, there's a bunch of them out there, Jacksonville, where it just seems like every week the coach does something just dumber than he did the last week. And the Vikings have been absolutely one of the most well-coached, well-led franchises in the league, with what they've been able to do here on the field, but also what Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah was able to do in the offseason to kind of supplement the roster and help kind of add some new juice and freshness to it. So, I don't think there's any debate right now that, Brian Flores is probably the assistant of the year if the season ended today. Kevin O'Connell has been terrific in scheming things up offensively. I thought that attacking the Houston defense on Sunday was amazing how often that O'Connell was able to scheme Justin Jefferson into single coverage. Just like it's a very smartly run team right now, and that gives the Vikings a definite advantage a lot of weeks that they're going into. I think Green Bay is well run. Detroit is certainly well run. So in this division, not quite as much, but certainly when you cast it around the rest of the league, I mean, the Vikings are right up there with how they have not beaten themselves, and they are actually winning games with coaching and preparation and scouting. And that's a very good sign of sustainability as the season goes along.
No doubt. And, we make a lot of the draft and the scouting that goes into the draft and the hits and the many misses in the draft. And that is a very important way to acquire talent, no doubt about it. But, free agency is its own draft. It's its own scouting and evaluation challenge. You're taking players that other teams have decided not to keep, and you're judging them on how you think they'll fit into your system, how much tread on the tire they have, how much they have left, whether they're worth the asking price as a free agent. And good Lord, I mean, Grenard has had a great 3-game start. Van Ginkel's been great. Cashman's been great. Darnold's been great. I'm sure I'm going to forget some because there's so many good pieces they've added. Aaron Jones has been great. It's hard to bat anywhere close to 1,000 in free agency, just as in the draft. And right now they kind of are.
Yeah. And I think any GM will tell you that it's a little dangerous having to rely more on free agency than the draft. Certainly because, whether it is injuries or even, players get paid and get a little happier, any number of things can happen. Scheme, fit, all those things can go wrong in free agency. And then you can kind of be stuck with a more expensive player. And it can be a little bit of an albatross. But, if you hit it the way that Kwesi has hit it this last offseason, and really, I know Hawkinson's been injured, but that trade was a good one. Like there's other moves that he has made that are starting to pay big dividends. And it just seems like he was able to thread a very difficult needle here, in this offseason in terms of maybe letting some bigger ticket players go, Kirk Cousins, Danielle Hunter. You look at it, but then filling the roster with multiple players that are still going to make money. He's not doing the Twins thing and bargain bin shopping. He went out and spent money on really good players who are still, in their primes of their career, or maybe even just approaching the primes of their careers. And I think that one key to this whole thing has been, from what it sounds like, Kwesi really did engage the coaching staff on who would be a good fit. Why would they be a good fit? Brian Flores lobbying for Blake Cashman after talking to Mike Sherrills, kind of things like that. Sam Darnold and Kevin O'Connell kind of looking at Sam Darnold and saying, yeah, I can work with this. I think that there's been better process behind the selections and then better results because of it. I think that maybe early on in his tenure, Kwesi may be a little more unilateral, or at least like, this is the way I always envisioned it. This is what I'm going to try to do. And I think it's fair to say that there's been more open lines of communication between all the parties involved, and that is yielding a better, at least, probability of success. And to hit it the way that they appear to have hit it, this offseason is just enormous, considering that some of the draft has not worked out the way that they wanted it to.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Darnold has been spectacular. He has had other good stretches in his career. He's had 2 or 3 different months over the course of his career where he's played really well, but he's never played like this. Do you have any reason to look at this body of work and question whether he can sustain it, other than the fact that it's hard to sustain this level of success?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be the main argument, is if he sustains this level of success, you're talking about MVP caliber at the end of the year. And is he that? I don't know. I do keep the one thing that I keep waiting for, Jim, and we saw him cut it close a couple of times, against the Texans. You wonder when the turnovers are going to come, and when some of those instances of where he does let it rip, and maybe it is a little bit more reckless, and when they come in if they do come in bunches, and do they come at points of the game that really put the defense in a disadvantage. That is the one thing that we have seen from Sam Darnold so far in the first 3 weeks that is completely against type. Is, he had the interception to Fred Warner, but really he has played a very clean game, made very crisp, clean throws that in general, that he hasn't been turning the ball over. And there was a few times against the Texans where there were some close calls where the Texans tipped it, or they were just a half second late, or something like that looked like they could have been turnovers and they weren't. And maybe Darnold got a little bit lucky in those situations. So if he's going to come down to earth, that's going to be the way that I see him coming down to earth. But in every other aspect of it, it kind of feels like the Sam Darnold like best case scenario that was attainable. Like when he was drafted 3rd overall, when, teams are bringing him in and looking at him, no one doubted his arm strength. No one doubted his physical ability. No one doubted his ability to move in the pocket and kind of buy a little bit of time. And so always the thinking was put him in a good system with a quarterback friendly coaching staff with good weapons like the Vikings have, and take advantage of those talents the way that the Panthers and Jets were not able to do. And that's what the Vikings have done. So while he has played really well, he's not lighting the world on fire. He's not throwing for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns in games, as much, but he is doing things that look very replicable as long as he continues to take care of the ball, doesn't turn it over with silly throws and unforced errors.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Another interesting development, not as important as the Darnold development, but it sounds like Kevin O'Connell believes that Jordan Addison could be available for Sunday. We could be seeing TJ Hawkinson sometime in the next, 2 to 6 weeks. I don't really know where he stands, but he'll be back sooner rather than later. This just doesn't feel flukish. And listen, part of my job as a general columnist, part of your job as a reporter is to tell people when they're getting out over their skis and being unrealistic. And I've covered teams that have played well and it wasn't real. I remember Tim Brewster was 7-0 one time with the Gophers, and people were clamoring for him to get more praise, and then they collapsed and he got fired. The winning doesn't always sustain. And I don't know how the season's going to end up. I thought they were going to have a lousy season, and they're way ahead of all reasonable expectations right now. But what I'll say is that nothing feels flukish. This feels like a deep, talented, well-coached team that brought in just the right people.
Yeah, it's not in just, let's just take it back to 2 years ago, when they were another surprise team, right? That in Kevin O'Connell's first year. And that team, even though they won a bunch of games and they got into the playoffs and all those things, and it was kind of fun to watch, and it was, it was somewhat unexpected. You were always looking at it like, man, they are getting by on the skin of their teeth. All of those 1-score wins, Kirk Cousins, kind of 4th quarter comebacks, those types of scenarios that were winning them games so far. And again, the sample size is really early, so it's small. And so we gotta factor that in. But the way they are playing in these games is entirely different from 2 years ago. They are dominating these games, and they are executing at a really high level with the turnover margin in their favor, making big plays when they need to. Their kicker seems to be really good, knock on wood, for this franchise. Everything is coming together in a way that you can say what the Vikings put on display on Sunday against the Texans can be repeated against the Packers. It can be repeated against the Lions. It can be repeated going forward, because they are doing it by playing very smart football, by being very prepared for their opponents, and by being able to adapt to the different kind of opponents and the different ways that you need to win depending on who you're playing. And so I just see a team that doesn't seem to be getting by on smoke and mirrors, isn't just getting lucky to win some of these games. And you look at it and say, how long can they keep pulling a rabbit out of their hat? They're not pulling any rabbits out of hats right now. They are just, they're just kicking butt. And so that to me, the way that they're playing, the way that these games are unfolding tells the story of a team that isn't just getting lucky, but actually might be really, really good.
Viking Update Show is brought to you by the Minnesota Lottery Viking Scratch Game Edition. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. Hey, great time of the year. If you're feeling lucky about the Vikings, maybe go drop $1 on the lottery. Check out this information on the Minnesota Lottery Vikings Scratch Game Edition.
From the convenience stores in Cloquet to the supermarkets in St. Cloud, the Minnesota Lottery's Vikings scratch game is here. These are the concrete coliseums where we'll challenge chance and chase glory, where we'll gamely scratch and fearlessly scrape in pursuit of up to $100,000 in cash prizes. These are the stadiums where we come to play. Get in the game. Minnesota Lottery. I'm in. Must be 18 or older to play.
You know, one thing is someone who has some dietary restrictions and eats on the fly a lot but wants to eat fairly healthy is, you know, you can go to the grocery store and you can buy all the fruits and all the vegetables. And then if you don't get to them in a timely manner, or you don't chop them up, or you don't have time to really prepare them, you end up throwing them away. And I always feel guilty, both financially and in terms of eating healthily when I have to do that. That's one of the many ways Crazy Fresh has been great for me. Listen, I love that I used to live in Texas. I'm picky about guacamole. Their guacamole is great. Their party trays are great. Their dips are great. But what's really perfect for me is instead of going to the grocery store and buying all the different ingredients to make a big meal of a salad, they just have salads that are meals, pre-made, incredibly fresh, packaged beautifully. And I just had one for lunch 10 minutes ago because I didn't know how today was going to go. I wanted to be able to eat quick, but eat healthy. I didn't have to go through a drive-through. It's in my fridge. I ate it. I had some of their fruit for dessert, and I feel great. And you know what? Because it's all healthy and low carb, I don't get that mid-afternoon crash that I used to get. So, we want you to know that, by the way, Crazy Fresh does have their first gold ticket sweepstake winner. We've been telling you about that contest. They do have a winner. But man, I recommend getting Crazy Fresh delivered to you or find it in your grocery store and just eating something that's healthy, that tastes good, and that creates no waste. You're going to eat everything in the packaging. They have sandwiches. They have great veggie trays. They have stuff for game day. Check it all out. But I really highly recommend the ready-made salads. And by the way, the first winner of that gold ticket sweepstakes is headed to Lambeau Field to watch the Packers versus the Vikings game. So Crazy Fresh doing a lot of great stuff. I also want to tell you, my wife and I moved this summer. We've moved pretty frequently, trying out different areas of living in Minneapolis. Right now we're in, pretty close to downtown in a place we really like. But every time we move, especially when you're in an apartment, you look at your clothes and go, okay, I'm not going to wear that. Maybe it's time to get rid of that. So I basically throw out anything I haven't worn in a year, or I don't think I'm going to wear in the next year. You know what I keep? I keep all the clothes I got at Twill in the Edina Galleria. That's Twill by Scott Dayton in the Edina Galleria. Right now I'm wearing a lot of his Peter Millar stuff, a lot of his Johnny O stuff, his Brax pants. I have shoes, socks, pants, jeans, underwear, golf shirts, casual shirts, dress shirts, suits, and sport coats, and belts, and accessories, other accessories. I bought at Twill. And guess what? When I decided to get rid of the old stuff, when I decided to get rid of the stuff I wasn't wearing anymore, I kept all the Twill stuff. This is what I wear every day. Because you can wear it casually. You can wear it formally. You can wear the casual stuff and throw a sport coat over it, and it's all going to look good. It's all going to wear well. It's all going to last you a long time. Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com. Sign up for their email alerts. They will not spam you. You'll just send one email a month or every 2 months when they have a special event. I highly recommend it. Well, let's get to the defense. It's always fun to talk offense, but let's get to the defense. Brian Flores, working wonders. We've seen Van Ginkel, Grenard, Cashman absolutely shine. We have seen the interior line hold up. If your interior line is the Dallas Cowboys will prove. If the interior line doesn't hold up, nobody else gets to make plays. You saw Bullard and Phillips push the pocket, get a tip pass that it led to an interception that really got him started in the right direction. It's almost like Bynum had a big play on Sunday, but it's almost like Harrison Smith hasn't had to do much because everybody else is doing their jobs.
Yeah, it was interesting, like talking to Harrison Phillips in the locker room after the game. He kind of said that the defense feels the grip tighten around the offense as the game goes on. And so early on, first couple of series, offense comes out, they feel confident, they're going after it. But then as they kind of get bogged down by all of the chaos and confusion and subterfuge that Brian Flores and this defense deploy on a snap in and snap out basis, that you just feel them getting almost paralyzed with thought, with overthinking, with trying to figure out what looks they're getting and what's real and what's imagined. And so to me, it sounds like he's describing quicksand, basically that, the offense gets stuck in this little trap, and the more that they try to fight and the more that they try to struggle to get out of it, the worse it gets for them. And that's what it felt like against the Texans, because you have an offense that is used to putting up points, that is used to being efficient, that doesn't turn the ball over. CJ Stroud had thrown 5 interceptions in his career before throwing 2 against the Vikings. But then you also, they just get flustered and frustrated trying to figure this stuff out. And so then you get sequences like the second quarter where the offense gets 4 penalties in a row, 3 false starts in an illegal formation in a row to get knocked out of field goal range and have to punt. I mean, those are the kinds of things that happen when an offense is thinking too much and trying to get any little edge they can against a defense that is attacking them from angles they don't know, they can't see coming. And, kudos to Flores, but also kudos to all of these guys for really being able to execute it, because this is not an easy thing to do, to be able to mess around as much as they do on the back end and go after it. And, man, it's just, you can just see the wheels turning in the heads of these quarterbacks as they're trying to figure out what's going on. And it just is not working for them so far.
Let's put their success and Darnold's success in the context of what is happening around the league. A lot of surprising starts, good and bad, for the NFL and for certain quarterbacks. First, though, I just want to ask you, have you been to a Natrium or a Wildflower store? I have 2 right by mine. I go there, and it's, in the old days, John, we used to think of anything related to cannabis as kind of, somebody sitting in a dark room with a black
Cheech
and Chong, black velvet posters, lava lamps, unkempt people doing unkempt things. You go to one of these stores and they're just beautiful and incredibly clean and orderly. It's a different world than all the cliches and all the jokes. You walk in there, highly professional, friendly people. They'll help you find what you need, whether you need something for sleep, pain, for fun, for relaxation, for taking the edge off, something that tastes good, something that, and they have such a variety. They have balms, they have oils, they have dips, they have gummies, they have drinks, they have things that'll help you with your digestion and your gut health. They have things that are, the balms are antifungal, anti-infectious. They can help with muscle pain, arthritis, tendonitis. The 2 biggest things for me are, I'm an old dude, kind of relieving minor aches and helping you sleep are big things for me. My wife loves it for sleep. And sometimes we like being able to just, take a gummy or have a drink where you're not going to have a hangover. You're not getting all the extra calories from a cocktail or a beer. It's just great. So really check out Natrium, Natreum.com, or go to a Natrium store or a Wildflower store. Check it out for yourself and just buy a few things, just test it out. I think you'll like the result. John, tell us about True Vision Institute.
True Vision Institute is in Bloomington, and now I'm about 2 months into my LASIK surgery, and man, it's been really life-changing. I know it sounds weird to say that because I know people will roll their eyes at it, but ever since I've been able to ditch the contacts and glasses for the first time since I was in 4th grade, it's just, life is a little easier. I can get in the shower. I don't have to hold the conditioner bottle, 3 inches from my face, so I know which one's shampoo and which one's conditioner. I can go swimming with my kids without my contacts getting all gummed up, or without wearing glasses in the pool and messing with all of that. I see perfectly 20/20 after the procedure, and it was literally, I went in for the procedure. It took about 5 minutes total on the 2 eyes. Got done, went home, rested. I got up the next morning, felt great. And could see perfectly fine, and everything was really good. So go to chewvision.com and set up a consultation. They will bring you in and put you through an exhaustive, really thorough examination just to see if LASIK is right for you, if there are other vision correction methods that can be used that would suit you. The people there are the nicest ever. You'll never you'll never go in there without a smile on your face, because they just make it so warm and inviting, and they're so happy that you're coming in to try and help improve your vision. And Dr. Chu is the best in the business. Was so great and so easy on made my procedure very easy to go through. So again, go to chuvision.com, set up a consultation, and just get going. I wish I would have done this 10 years ago. Don't make the same mistake I did.
I wrote a piece before they played the 49ers saying that, hey, here's Purdy on a very low level rookie contract. Here's Darnold not making much money. And having an affordable quarterback does allow you to build out your roster. Now we're seeing Justin Fields 3-0, Geno Smith 3-0, Sam Darnold 3-0. And these are all somewhat surprising results. And I do wonder if there's something to the fact that if you aren't paying your quarterback $40 to $60 million, it does free up the budget a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there is something to that, because I think that this is one of those cases kind of similar to the NBA, where if you pay a max player max money, he's taken up 35% of your salary cap. That player has to give you max production to merit that contract and to give your team a chance to go deep into the playoffs and be competitive. But if you pay a player who is maybe just a kind of a borderline all-star or something like that, max money, just because he's the best player on your mediocre team, that's when you really run into trouble. And I think it's the same with the NFL. Like, you can pay Patrick Mahomes all the money you want because he is that good and he makes that much of a difference. Josh Allen is the same way. Maybe Stroud will eventually get there. Maybe a few others will get there, but it's a select few of quarterbacks in the league that really, if you're paying them $50 million a year, that you can still win at a high level because they make everyone around them better. Where you get into real trouble in the NFL is wishing that you had a franchise quarterback and then paying him that way. I mean, look at how, the Giants paid Daniel Jones and had to say goodbye to Saquon Barkley because of it. There's all sorts of those. I mean, the Vikings with Kirk Cousins, they paid him a lot of money over the years and weren't able to really get over the hump, in part because of that. So it's like you either have a great quarterback and you pay him accordingly, or you build around a middling quarterback, but pay him middling money and then give him more weapons to have better support. Sam Darnold is a perfect example. $10 million a year is a bargain for what he's giving them, but he's been able to give them that production in part because they've spent money on Justin Jefferson. They invested a first-round draft pick in Addison. He's been hurt, but he'll be back and will help a lot. Aaron Jones, they signed and spent some money on just to upgrade the running back position. And then they spent a bunch of money on defense as well so that the Vikings aren't always playing from behind and putting Darnold in pass-only situations. So it's more difficult, I think, to construct a roster with a megawatt quarterback, mega salary quarterback like that. But if you have one of the best, Mahomes, Josh Allen, those guys, then I think you do it and don't think twice about it. But you got to be careful. I think Dak Prescott might be one of those guys. Kirk Cousins, several of those guys, like, are they really good enough to merit that type of investment? And it can be a hard thing to resist for a franchise that wants to have, the best quarterback available.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you got Patrick Mahomes, you pay him. If Josh Allen or Joe Burrow, you pay them. But the next step down, the guys who are good enough to win games, maybe not good enough to win championships, you got to be careful how much you pay them. Let's reset now. We're 3 weeks in. We've seen a lot already. Given the state of the division, the state of the NFC, what do you think is realistic for the Vikings now?
Yeah, I mean, I really do think, like, after such a dominant win against Houston, which is expected to be right in the hunt in the AFC all season long, I thought, that was the last thing I kind of needed to see after beating San Francisco to say to really say that the expectations that I personally had for this team coming into the season, and I said 6 wins, I said maybe 7, if things go right. I really believe that I undersold it. I didn't see it. I'll give my apologies to Kevin O'Connell and eat that part of it, because I did not see this coming. And I do believe that this is at least somewhat sustainable. I believe that they can get into double-digit victories and contend for a division championship, and we'll see about the playoffs, and we'll see, it's a long season and how that all plays out. But I thought that the win against the Texans was a reframe the expectations of this team type of win. Now I think it's just, there's so much more that seems to be available to them with the way they're playing on both sides of the ball, and the ability that I think it is to sustain that. So, barring injuries, I think this is a double-digit win team, and I think that they're going to be right in the mix all season long. And that's not something that I anticipated saying after 3 weeks of this and games against the Niners and Texans on the schedule.
Yeah, I'm shocked, and I'm kind of glad. It's much more fun to cover this team and to do these shows when you get to praise these people. It's just been remarkable work. I've seen a couple. There's some amazing stats out there too. It's like Kevin O'Connell, when he has a starting quarterback healthy, is 20-8. He's undefeated when his team ties or wins the turnover battle. Man, they're in good shape. And listen, the Bears look like at best they're a year away, and that's if things turn out. The Lions look good, but not unbeatable. The Packers look really good, but I don't know that I just don't know that the division title's out of reach the way I thought it was when the season started.
Yeah, I think, this is the, I don't know if it's even a dirty little secret anymore, but I'll call it that. There are not many great teams in the league.
Right.
That's just the way that it is right now. Kansas City looks there, but they don't look great. They look good. And they look really strong on both sides of the ball. And so they look pretty close to complete, even though they have, they could have lost a couple of these games, in the first 3 weeks, and hey, credit to them. They were able to do it, but it's not like they're steamrolling teams. The Vikings, you can say, look the most complete through 3 weeks of any team, and a million things can change over these next 14 weeks. There's no doubt about it. But, when you look at the landscape of the league, there is no mountain to climb. There's no 90s Cowboys. There's no 80s Niners. There's no, early 2000s Patriots. Like those teams are not formulating now for collective bargaining reasons, for all sorts of different reasons that are playing out. But so it really is going to come down to who can stay healthy and who cannot beat themselves. And the Vikings, certainly in the not beat themselves thing, are doing a great job of that. And you hope, it sounds like, again, like Darnold's going to be okay and going to be able to play in Green Bay. And you hope that he stays healthy, because you hope that the team in general doesn't suffer any massive injuries, because it has the look of a group that if they stay together, if they get some injury luck, that they can be right in there. Like, are you scared of the Eagles? Are you scared of the Saints, of, even the Packers, of any? No, you're not, because every team has some warts, something that that you're wondering about, question marks and things like that. And the Vikings, the way that they're playing right now and the way they look, it is wide open for them. It is right there for them. There is no one in the NFC that is definitely head and shoulders above and they have no chance against when they step on a field with them. And so that's the way it's going to be in this new era of the league that is geared toward parity and geared toward surprises, like the Vikings coming from seemingly nowhere to really kind of move to the top of the conference right now. And
there's nothing quite the same in this market as a game between the Vikings and the Packers when both teams are good, and we get that this Sunday. The Timberwolves made a lot of inroads in terms of local popularity, and we're going to see them. I think the rivalry of Denver and Dallas is going to be fascinating. But the Packers and the Vikings have a few years on them in that regard. But this is going to be a blast. I'm really looking forward to this game. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. Do you have a final thought on anything involving the Vikings today, John?
I would just say that, we didn't hit specifically as much on Stephon Gilmore. And, I wondered about coming into the season. He signs late in camp, and I didn't question his talent or his ability, but I did wonder, why has he been on 5 teams in 5 years, and he's getting older, and when is the drop off coming? It is not coming right now. That guy has been unbelievable for this defense. And, a lot of times you picture defensive backs, cornerbacks in particular, as brash, outspoken, sort of gregarious loudmouths. And that's just kind of the mentality that position sometimes seems to demand of it, with just the way that failure can come up very quickly, and you have to process that. But Gilmore is quiet and thoughtful and contemplative. And Harrison Smith was saying it after the game, of just just how even keeled that he is, and what an asset that has been to this defense that is really kind of predicated on, everyone playing with their hair on fire, and Flores is so emotional, and you're moving all around. But in the middle of it, there is this quiet cornerback that is just shutting everyone down. Doesn't matter who he's covering. No one is getting anything on him. And if they do get something on him, it's unbelievably contested, and usually just a fantastic play on the offense's part that you tip the cap to. So another great job by Kwesi to go out and get him late in camp, pay him that money, get him in, because he has made an enormous difference at a position of desperate need for this team. He and Shaq Griffin have been really, really good, and Byron Murphy as well.
Yes, and I'll also say that it looks like Brandle's playing well. The tackles are playing really well. Bradbury and Ingram can still get pushed back in pass blocking, but they haven't let it destroy the offense. I thought Darrisaw had a great game on Sunday, and we talk a lot about teams when they miss on draft picks. Darrisaw was a very good first-round draft pick. O'Neill's turned into a very good player. So it's just a good roster right now, it looks like. So it's going to be a blast to talk about this team all year. You have 2 shows here at Talk North to check out: the Viking Update show, which is this show, and Jeff Diamond's Vikings and NFL Insider. Highly recommend that for Jeff's insights into what happens behind the scenes and how the salary cap is managed. He's an expert on those topics. Check it all out at talknorth.com. For John, for our producers, I'm Jim Souhan. Thanks for listening.